Number 15, Darth Malgus. If you ever wondered what it would look like if Darth Vader had a gym membership and zero moral hesitation, meet Darth Malgus. Born out of the Star Wars The Old Republic era, Malgus isn't one of those shadowy, whispery Sith hiding in tombs. He's frontline juggernaut who prefers to announce the dark side with explosions of broken Jedi bodies. His claim to fame? The sacking of Coruscant. A massive Sith strike where he led the charge into the Jedi Temple, cut down high-ranking defenders, and left the Republic staggering. It's the kind of entrance that says, I don't do subtle, I do war. Malgus isn't just a brute swinging red glow sticks, though. He's an efficient tactician who combines raw muscle with deadly mastery of the Force. He'll throw you across a battlefield, crush squads with telekinetic power, and keep going long after both Sith would have tapped out. His stories play out not on movie screens, but in cinematic trailers. Dark Horse Comics and the tie-in novel Deceived, which dramatizes his infamous Coruscant assault. Because while Malgus is devastating in war, he doesn't dip into the deeper mystical Sith toolbox. He's less ancient cosmic horror and more unstoppable warlord. In other words, he's the kind of guy you absolutely don't want to see leading an army against your planet. But he won't be draining the Force essence out of galaxies anytime soon. A battlefield legend? Absolutely. A universe-bending anomaly? Not quite. Number 14, Mother Talzin. If the Sith are the galaxy's mob bosses, Mother Talzin is the witch who sells them the cursed potions and then hexes them for fun. As clan mother of the Night Sisters of Dathomir, she ruled not with armies or empires, but with sorcery that made even hardened Sith Lords nervous. She's the closest thing Star Wars has to a dark fairy godmother, except instead of glass slippers, she gives you soul possession and body horror. Her magic isn't your usual force push or lightning, it's ritual-based and unsettling. Talzin could bend life, twist pain, and even hijack another person's body. In the Darth Maul, son of Dathomir comics, she's basically the puppeteer behind the curtain. She directs Maul's Shadow Collective, fuels Savage Opress with unnatural strength, and at one point fully possesses Count Dooku, because why duel a Sith when you could just wear him like a second-hand robe? The climax of that series has her physically manifesting to battle Darth Sidious himself, trading spell for Force lightning until General Grievous gets the cheap shot that ends her reign. So why does she land at number 14? Talzin is a wild card villain, the kind you never see coming because she's not charging in with sabers drawn. She's rewriting the rules of the game while you're still figuring out what game you're in. But her feats, while terrifying, are mostly tied to Dathomir in that specific arc. She's lethal, she's mystical, but she's not the galaxy-consuming menace of the very top tier. A sorceress supreme, just with a limited stage. Number 13, Savage Opress. Savage Opress is what happens when you take a regular Dathomirian Night Brother, feed him dark magic, and crank the dial past 11. Originally just another warrior on Dathomir, he's handpicked and reforged by the Night Sisters and Count Dooku into a hulking engine of destruction. Bigger, meaner, and radiating barely contained rage, Savage quickly goes from pawn to partner when he's united with his long-lost brother, Darth Maul. Together they become the galaxy's worst family reunion, carving their way across the Clone Wars era. Savage isn't subtle. His strength is raw physical dominance, towering size, brutal endurance, and a lightsaber style that's less elegant duelist and more chainsaw through a forest. He recovers from injuries that should just floor him, plows through mercenaries like they're cardboard cutouts, and takes on multiple Jedi at once without flinching. In the Dark Horse comics, especially Darth Maul, Death Sentence, Savage is shown at peak form, tearing through armies, smashing defenses, and helping Maul hold the line against organized Jedi strikes. Even his early showcase, Opress Unleashed, highlights just how quickly he can tilt a fight from balanced to catastrophic. So why does he sit at number 13 instead of higher? Because Savage's menace lies in the here and now. He doesn't conjure sorcery, bend reality, or play the long game. He's the guy you send when you want a fortress broken, not a galaxy consumed. Still, when Savage Opress stomps onto the battlefield, you don't need mysticism, you need survival instincts. He's raw, terrifying muscle given form. Number 12, Asajj Ventress. If Darth Maul is the galaxy's rage monster, Asajj Ventress is its sharp-tongued assassin who always knows where to stick the knife. Born on Dathomir and raised in chaos, she eventually became Count Dooku's apprentice and personal blade during the Clone Wars. Most fans know her from animation, but her roots go back to Dark Horse Comics, where she first sliced her way into the page as a lethal, unpredictable threat to Jedi and Republic forces. From assassin and night sister to bounty hunter to occasional uneasy ally, Ventress consistently reinvented herself, surviving betrayals that would have ended lesser villains. Her skill set makes her a nightmare in close quarters. Ventress wields twin curved red lightsabers with a style that's part acrobatics, part sadism, and all deadly efficiency. She layers in force tricks, telekinesis, stealth maneuvers, and sudden bursts of speed that let her hunt Jedi like prey. In Star Wars Republic number 51 through 52, she debuts as an unrelenting assassin, while later appearances like Hyperspace Stories number 5 highlight her ambush tactics and ability to dismantle Jedis in duels. Again and again, she escapes death, grows stronger, and returns more dangerous than before. So why is Ventress ranked 12th? Because she's terrifyingly effective in battle. Her threat is intimate, not galactic. She's a supreme duelist and master assassin, but she's not rewriting reality or swallowing planets whole. Still, if you're a Jedi traveling alone or a hero hiss of twin sabers, too late, you're already on her list. Number 11, Lord Scourge. Imagine being so good at killing people that the Sith Emperor decides to keep you around forever. That's basically Lord Scourge, a pure-blood Sith who's climbed the Imperial ladder by being the one guy everyone was too scared or too expendable to challenge. Eventually, he earned the ultimate title, the Emperor's Wrath, the Sith equivalent of a personal Grim Reaper. When the Emperor needed someone erased, Scourge was the one who showed up at the door, red blade ready. Scourge isn't flashy with sorcery or reality-bending tricks. His power is more practical. Elite lightsaber skill, brutal efficiency in combat, and a body tough enough to keep going long after others would fall. Thanks to horrific dark rituals and some Sith-aligned tech, he was altered into something close to immortal, serving the Emperor for roughly 3 centuries. That means he outlasted generations of rivals, cut down Jedi who weren't even born when he started, and became a walking nightmare of accumulated battlefield experience. By the time he meets the Jedi hero Tython, Scourge is less a man and more a sharpened weapon that never dulls. Why does he rank at number 11? Because his threat isn't cosmic, it's personal and perpetual. He won't eat a planet or warp the Force itself, but he will keep showing up century after century to do the Emperor's will. Think of him as the galaxy's deadliest job security program, the executioner who literally never clocks out. And that's more terrifying than any spell. Number 10, Darth Traya. Some Sith want to rule the galaxy, some want to blow it up. Darth Traya, she wanted to cancel the Force itself. Born as Krayt, she began as a Jedi, felt at the Sith, and then reinvented herself as the ultimate contrarian, the Lord of Betrayal. Her big reveal comes in Knights of the Old Republic 2, where she steps out from behind the wise mentor mask and shows she's really been steering the whole show. To Traya, the Force isn't a gift, it's a cosmic leash, and she's ready to snap it. Her arsenal isn't about brute strength, but about cunning, manipulation, and philosophy weaponized into something deadly. She trains monsters like Darth Nihilus and Darth Sion, orchestrates betrayals with clockwork precision, and performs rituals on Malachor 5 that literally scar the Force. She can break people with words as easily as others do with sabers, turning allies into weapons and enemies into pawns. And when she does fight, floating lightsabers whirl around her like angry bees, making it clear she's no slouch in battle either. So why does Traya sit at number 10? Because her menace isn't measured in kill counts alone. It's in how she redefines the game. She's the rare villain who doesn't just move pieces on the board, she questions why the board exists at all. Still, her feats remain tied mostly to KOTOR 2 Malachor arc, which keeps her just shy of the galaxy-devouring heavyweights. But make no mistake, Darth Traya is the Sith who wanted to unplug reality itself. Number 9, Lady Lumiya. If Darth Vader ever had a favorite secret agent, it was Shira Bree. though you probably would know her as Lady Lumiya, a cybernetic dark lady of the Sith. Once an Imperial infiltrator embedded deep in the Rebel Alliance, she played the role of loyal pilot until Luke Skywalker, trusting the Force, shot her out of the sky. Instead of dying, she came back rebuilt with cybernetics, a new name, and a grudge the size of a Star Destroyer. As Lumiya, she ditched the standard lightsaber and rolled out one of the most unorthodox weapons in the expanded universe, the Light Whip. Imagine trying to parry a cluster of searing energy strands with a single blade. Yeah, Luke learned that the hard way. In Star Wars number 96, she actually defeats him outright, proving she's one of the very few villains in comics to hand the Jedi Golden Boy a clean L. Luke only manages to turn the tables in their rematch after retooling his fighting style with a shorter Shoto. That's how inventive her combat style was. She literally forced the hero to rewrite his playbook. But Lumiya wasn't just about flashy duels. She was a schemer who played the Nagai and Toph against each other, ran espionage campaigns, and commanded forces during the Nagai-Toph War. Her arc peaks at the Battle of Saijo, where she duels Alliance fighters before being brought down by undercover agent Bay. Though true to Sith form, she survives. She ranks at number 9 because while she's not a galaxy-level nuke, she's one of the rare villains who outsmarted and outfought Luke Skywalker himself. Number 8, Revan. Revan is the Star Wars equivalent of that overachiever who decides being a valedictorian isn't enough. So they also want to become the class rebel, the star athlete, and then casually try their hand at world domination. First introduced as the player character in Knights of the Old Republic, Revan is a Jedi Knight who led the Republic against the Mandalorians, then flipped to the darker side and crowned himself a Sith Lord, before swinging back again into something far murkier. Hero, villain, savior, tyrant, Revan wore every hat and looked terrifying in all of them. What makes Revan legendary isn't just lightsaber skill, though he had that in spades, but also sheer versatility. He blended light and dark teachings like a mad scientist, developing tactics and techniques that let him outthink, outfight, and outmaneuver enemies across an entire war. Telekinesis, force foresight, stealth manipulation, he had the full toolkit. His strategic genius is what built the Revanchists, toppled enemies like the Mandalorians, and reshaped galactic politics during the Old Republic era. Even when his direct comic appearances are cameos or flashbacks, like Star Wars Tales or Knights of the Old Republic, characters speak of him with the weight of legend. So why is he number 8? Because while Revan could mastermind wars and bend the Force to his will, his comic footprint is smaller than the cosmic juggernauts above him. He doesn't devour planets or resurrect across centuries, but as a symbol of what happens when brilliance meets power without limits, Revan remains one of the legend's most dangerous and fascinating icons. Number 7, Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus isn't so much a Sith Lord as he's a walking black hole with a mask. Known as the Lord of Hunger, he emerged from the wreckage of the Jedi-Sith Wars in the Knights of the Old Republic II era, and quickly stopped being a person in any meaningful sense. What remained was an endless appetite, an echo of a man who devoured life through the Force like it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. His calling card is Force Drain, but not the usual trick of stealing a little energy from one unlucky Jedi. Nihilus could consume entire armies, entire cities, and some even describe whole planets stripped bare. Step into his presence and you wouldn't just lose a duel, you'd lose your very ability to exist. His hunger was so corrosive that opponents weakened simply by being near him. On top of that, he had devastating telekinetic strength, could sense Force presences across staggering distances, and when his body gave out, he just anchored his will into his mask and armor. Death was more of an inconvenience than a conclusion. So why does he rank at number 7? Because while his legend is cosmic, most of his greatest feats live in the game and its tie-in material, not sprawling comic arcs. The comics give us eerie cameos like Star Wars Tales number 24 and holocron references in Star Wars Legacy, but they don't fully stage his planet-killing horror. Still, Nihilus is unforgettable, a Sith Lord who literally turned hunger into the deadliest weapon in the galaxy. Number 6, Darth Maul. Darth Maul was supposed to be a one-and-done villain cut in half and dropped down a shaft in The Phantom Menace. But if there's one thing Maul doesn't do, it's stay dead. Comics picked up where the movie left off and turned him into something far scarier than a silent assassin. A broken survivor who rebuilt himself as a schemer, warlord, and all-around nightmare the galaxy couldn't get rid of. At his core, Maul is still one of the deadliest duelists in Star Wars. His double-bladed lightsaber style is a blend of acrobatics, raw aggression, and surgical precision. He can overwhelm Jedi in one-on-one duels, cut through squads with frightening ease, and keep fighting long after most would collapse. But what makes this comic run so compelling is the evolution from blade to brain. In Darth Maul, Death Sentence, and Son of Dathomir, we see him join forces with savage Opress, rally the Shadow Collective, and manipulate criminal syndicates and Night Sister magic to wage multi-front wars against both Republic and Separatist enemies. He's not just a killer anymore. He's a tactician, a general, and at times, a would-be king. So why does Maul rank number 6? Because he bridges two worlds. He's as terrifying in single combat as any Sith, but he also proved he could destabilize governments and nearly topple galactic powers through strategy. He's not a forced cosmic anomaly like Nihilus or Sidious, but he doesn't need to be. Maul is living proof that sometimes revenge and persistence are the scariest powers of all. Number 5, Ulic Qel-Droma. Ulic Qel-Droma is the definition of a Jedi golden boy gone terribly wrong. Introduced in Tales of the Jedi, he starts out as the pride of Master Arca Jeth, a gifted warrior leading missions on Onderon with his brother Clay and friend Tot Donetta. Confident, talented, and a little too sure of himself, Ulic looks destined to be a Jedi legend, just not in any way anyone hoped. His fall begins on Sinagar, where he infiltrates the Krath cult and ends up poisoned by a Sith toxin courtesy of Satel Keto. The result? A violent eruption of dark side power that seals his fate. Soon after, he clashes with Exar Kun, only for the spirit of Marka Ragnos to intervene, declaring Kun the Dark Lord and Ulic his apprentice. From there, Ulic goes full Dark Knight. He defeats Mandalore the Indomitable in ritual combat, taking control of the Mandalorian Crusaders, and launches brutal campaigns, including a strike on Coruscant itself, where he's captured before being freed from Kun's Sith sorcery. At his peak, Ulic was unstoppable, a master duelist, battlefield commander, and Sith general directing systems-spanning wars. But his darkest moments comes on Osseous, where in the heat of battle he kills his own brother, Kay. That act drives Nomi Sunrider to sever his connection to the Force, cutting him off forever. So why is he number 5? Because while he wasn't the mastermind, Exar Kun gets that crown. Ulic was the arm of the war, the warrior that made the Sith's ambitions a terrifying reality. Number 4, Exar Kun. Exar Kun is what happens when a promising Jedi student decides homework isn't enough. He wants the whole library of forbidden Sith knowledge too. Introduced in Tales of the Jedi, he starts as a gifted but arrogant pupil, then dives head first into dark lore until he crowns himself Dark Lord of the Sith and plunges the galaxy into the Great Sith War. Unlike brute force, Kun was the ultimate sorcerer king. A duelist, yes, but far more dangerous as a master of Sith rituals and schemes. His greatest hits read like a manual for how to become an eternal problem. On Yavin 4, he enslaved the Massassi, forced them to build vast Sith temples, and anchored his spirit into stone, ensuring his influence would echo across centuries even after his body was gone. He corrupted Jedi students, staged galaxy-shaking assaults with Ulic Qel-Droma, and turned Sith magic into a tool for mass manipulation. Kun wasn't just waging battles. He was rewriting the very rules of how war could be fought, binding souls and harnessing planetary energy like it was all part of his playbook. Why is he number 4? Because Exar Kun is the kind of villain who doesn't stay beaten. Even dead, he lingers as a curse on Yavin, haunting later generations and demanding whole orders of Jedi to deal with the mess he left behind. He falls just shy of icons like Sidious, Vader, and Krayt, but among comic-era Sith sorcerers, Kun is the definitive occult nightmare, ambition carved into stone. Number 3, Darth Krayt. Darth Krayt is what you get when a Jedi decides to go full character pivot, except instead of becoming a moisture farmer or cantina singer, he chooses galactic dominion. Born Asajj Het, a Tatooine Jedi who survived Order 66, he carried the scars of war and exile until the dark side became his second skin. After decades of surviving, scheming, and experimenting, he emerged in the Legacy comics as the architect of the One Sith, an order that tossed out the rule of two and replaced it with something far scarier. Everyone answers to him. Krayt wasn't just strong with his saber, though he could carve through Jedi and rivals with terrifying speed. He was a visionary, in the most nightmarish sense. He enforced a militarized Sith empire, trained lethal lieutenants like Darth Talon and Darth Nihilus, and wielded force powers that let him cheat death, regrow from injuries, and come back nastier after every fall. His Sith didn't just haunt the shadows. Under Krayt, they openly ruled the galaxy. The big twist? His true identity was Asajj Het, is revealed in Star Wars Legacy number 15, a gut punch reminder that his monster started as a Jedi trying to make sense of a broken galaxy. From there, his saga unfolds across the Legacy series, climaxing in the Legacy War miniseries where Cade Skywalker finally brings him down. Why rank him number 3? Because Krayt was more than a duelist. He was a system breaker, empire builder, death cheater, and Jedi killer. Number 2, Darth Vader. Darth Vader isn't just the most famous villain in Star Wars, he's the kind of presence that makes entire star systems consider early retirement. Once Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, who was supposed to save the galaxy, Vader is what happens when destiny takes a wrong turn, gets burned alive, and then rebuilt into a walking nightmare in black armor. The comics push him even further than the movies ever could, showing him not just as a tragic fallen Jedi, but as a relentless predator who mixes brute strength with frightening intelligence. His powers are iconic for a reason. He's a master of the lightsaber, cutting through Jedi, rebels, and even giant monsters like they're warm butter. His force chokes are so casual, it feels like breathing is optional around him. Add in telekinesis that can rip ships apart, precognition that makes fighting him basically suicide, and cybernetic durability that let him keep moving through injuries that would floor anyone else. And you've got a villain who reads like a horror story in every panel. Series like Darth Vader and the Lost Command and Marvel's Darth Vader runs by Kieran Gillen and Charles Soule show him at his peak, massacring squads, crushing rebellions, and bending imperial politics to his will with the same ease he snaps necks. So why is he number 2 and not number 1? Because as terrifying as Vader is, he's still the hammer. The mind behind the Empire, the one pulling the strings and bending fate itself, is his master. And that brings us to Sidious. Number 1, Darth Sidious. If every great villain is measured by how much chaos they can orchestrate, then Darth Sidious is basically the Mozart of galactic disaster. To the public, he's Sheev Palpatine, the mild-mannered senator who promises peace and democracy. Behind the curtain, he's Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord who plays the galaxy like a rigged holo-chess board. The comics make it crystal clear. This isn't just a guy who cackles while throwing lightning, he's a century-spanning menace who cheats death, rewrites politics, and builds doomsday programs in his spare time. Sidious is dangerous on every level. Politically, he engineers the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire without ever breaking a sweat. In battle, he's the definition of overkill, lightning storms, lightsaber mastery, and mind-bending control that leaves Jedi shaking. And then there's his darkest aura farm. He refuses to stay dead. The Dark Empire comics show him transferring his essence into clone bodies, waging war on Luke Skywalker, and building BIS-powered war machines that make the Death Star look modest. Every time you think the galaxy's free, Sidious pulls a "surprise I'm back" card like a Sith-themed magic trick. He's ranked number 1 because no one else brings this full package. Vader may be the hammer, Nihilus is the hunger, Exar Kun the sorcerer, but Sidious is the puppeteer, the duelist, and the immortal schemer rolled into one. He's the final ultimate boss of Star Wars comics, and the reason the galaxy never really gets its happy ending. Well, that's it for this one. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. Craving more stories from comics, movies, and beyond? Check out this video right here. Cheers, and see you in the next one.